as technology advances, typically costs come down. The cost of bandwidth should go down over time, and how much bandwidth you can purchase and get usually increases. Just like technology and hardware. A flat screen TV today you can buy for $300, and 7 years ago it was $3,000.
Welcome to the How to Scale Commercial Real Estate Show. Whether you are an active or passive investor, we'll teach you how to scale your real estate investing business into something big.
Todd Thorpe is a well-respected multifamily veteran with over 30 years of industry experience. Todd, welcome to the show.
Dan, thank you so much, man.
Hey, man, the pleasure's mine. There's 3 questions I ask every guest who comes on the show in 90 seconds or less. Can you tell me, where did you start, where are you now, and how did you get there?
Okay, well, those are pretty easy questions. Got my start in cable TV probably 30 years ago, so I'm kind of dating myself right out of college. Started doing public access programming, kind of the Wayne's World thing, and got into ad sales, and then kind of got into sales, direct sales, and I've spent literally probably 20 years in MDU sales, multifamily sales from a telecom technology perspective. And I am in Greenville, South Carolina right now. So got out of the cold northern Illinois and got sick of shoveling snow and moved down here and love it.
And love it. Absolutely, man. Come on down. The South is a good place to be. So welcome. Question for you there. What, just for our listeners and for my own sake, I have no idea what MDU sales even means.
MDU, so multi-dwelling unit. So you have your SFUs, which is your single family homes. And then you have MDU, which is multi-dwelling unit or multifamily.
Okay.
Multifamily properties. So student housing, your traditional or conventional multifamily, senior properties, and then affordable housing is also really big right now. And all of those types of verticals are deploying managed Wi-Fi. They're putting in technology now as an amenity for their residents, and that's a way to generate ancillary revenue, increase NOI on the property, which as an investor, you know how important that is because you want to increase your NOI and make the property more valuable. And just creating a marketing tool that attracts residents to your property versus the property across the street. Why should I rent from ABC property? Well, because they have all these great amenities and they also have managed Wi-Fi. Kind of turnkey.
Now, so and when so that's part of the MDU sales is what you were talking about there when you say MDU.
Correct.
Sales, you're looking at all of this tech package as a whole.
Yep, like a prop tech is kind of the big buzzword right now, and that includes managed Wi-Fi. And then once you put in a managed Wi-Fi system within that property, then you can start layering in all this other really cool technology like smart thermostats, smart locks, creating that smart home or that smart apartment environment, which again, that's what residents are looking for. They want these amenities because they don't want to have to go out and get it on their own. It's like checking into a hotel. Imagine checking into the Holiday Inn or the Hyatt or a hotel that doesn't have Wi-Fi. Right? Today, you wouldn't even think about that. 20 years ago, 10 years ago, it was all brand new.
What? Tell me about, I mean, because this is really fascinating because I've not heard a lot of people spending a lot of time even, investing in this sort of technology. It's kind of, I mean, obviously it's been around for a while, but I guess putting it all together into a seamless package, I would imagine is kind of a problem. How do you guys solve that? And 2, is there a certain class of property this works in? Is it all Class A? Is it Class B? What are we talking about?
So, how we solve it is we take a real expert or consultative approach by guiding owners and developers. Could be existing properties. It could be brand new developments. And we kind of guide them through that process. And just like an architect would kind of, walk you through the best way to design your home or your new kitchen. We will walk them through how to design a managed Wi-Fi for the best coverage and the best experience for the resident. And as far as the class, it's Class A, Class C properties. It doesn't really matter so much the class. Where it does start to make sense or maybe doesn't make sense are real small properties. So if you get below 50 units, putting in a managed Wi-Fi system is probably not going to be cost effective. But you get north of that, especially you get north of 100 units, that's where it really starts to make sense. And we're seeing a lot of success that developers and owners are achieving is value add properties, where they're putting in their underwriting and their pro forma, they're making sure that there is capital funds, not to just do landscaping and brand new fixtures and paint and kind of aesthetic things, but also, and maybe putting in a new roof. They're also making sure that there's money set aside in that underwriting to install a managed Wi-Fi system, to start installing all that technology. So, Sam, it's all across the board. It's value add, and it's these real kind of sexy resort style Class A properties that are, monster 10-story buildings and 500 units, right?
Do you guys do the actual installation of this, or are you just consultants on this?
Both. So we are a turnkey soup to nuts provider. So we bring in fiber to the property, and then we will either do all the low voltage running fiber and Ethernet throughout the property, putting an access point in every unit and all the common spaces. And we also work with the owner and the developer, especially in new construction where they maybe already have a low voltage contractor. And we will work with that contractor. They'll do all the wiring, and then we just bring all the electronics, hook everything up, flip the switch on, and everything's working. And that's really what this is all about is managed Wi-Fi needs to work just like running water or a light switch. You flip it on and you expect it to work. You don't think about it, right? We're talking, we got Wi-Fi going right now to keep this podcast going. And you don't even think about it. You just start the Zoom, you start the podcast, everything going. You just kind of rely on it.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. On the value add side of things, obviously for those of us who are buying value add multifamily properties, the thing we want to do is to increase rent. I mean, we want to drive revenue. Yep. And so give me, I guess, a general case study. Sure. Say, hey man, here's 100 units. Here is the range that, you could expect to spend. Here's what we see on an average rent bump. I mean, I'm sure you guys have some of those kind of basic metrics. Can you help break some of that down for us?
Yep. So every situation is going to be a little different. Garden style versus mid-rise or high-rise. If it is a existing property versus new construction. But by and large, kind of back of the napkin figures, you're looking at maybe $800 to $1,000 a unit in CapEx cost, one-time, upfront costs. And then you're looking at around $20 to $25 a unit in your operating costs, your monthly. So that's what you would pay us. But here's the kicker. Here's the beauty part. Then this is where the NOI comes in, and this is where you drive that ancillary revenue. So you're paying maybe 20, and we've even seen it in the high teens. It depends on what kind of costs you can get from that bandwidth fiber circuit coming into the property. But you're going to pay that $20 to $25 per unit, but then you're going to turn around and charge your resident maybe $50, $60 per unit, an amenity fee or a tech fee, and then you're going to keep that difference.
Sure.
And that's where you're increasing your NOI and you're generating this ancillary revenue, and you're still way below what the retail rate would be for the resident to go out and get internet on their own from the local cable provider or the local phone provider, right? So it's a win-win for everybody. The owner or the developer gets this fantastic, what we call frictionless Wi-Fi experience. The resident doesn't have to go out and get the service on their own, and you're creating an environment where the resident then is happy. They're more apt to renew the lease. And first of all, they're more apt to just rent from you versus the property down the street, because you're offering these additional types of amenities, valet services, and waste haul, and you got a pool, and that's what residents are looking for and that's value add properties. That's what you're trying to do, is increase the rent, right? And in some cases, you're able to even do that. You're able to increase the rent. You're able to add maybe that tech fee to the rent, because now you're giving them more value than they would get before.
Yeah, and so I guess that's the you just have to include that. Practically speaking, you have to include that in your lease up front. You just say, hey, all leases include a $50 tech fee, whatever it is. Of course, I know we're just talking back of the napkin numbers here, but
yep.
Every lease, either you build it into the lease or you line item it out, but it's still a required, hey, it's a $50 tech fee. What are things outside of smart locks and thermostats? I mean, I get it. People want to pay for Wi-Fi. People may not care as much about smart locks or even smart thermostats. Obviously, as the building owner, we would care about things like that. And I guess as a tenant, you probably would too, if you could control your thermostat and have a lower utility bill. Mm-hmm. What are some things that are kind of on the horizon that you see where this could be the next level, or the scalability of this prop tech platform? Like where do you want this to go outside of just maybe those three items?
Well, so besides the thermostats and the locks, you're right. Not all residents want or need that. And it really depends a little bit on the property type. There are student housing properties where internet is a must.
Right.
And that's where managed Wi-Fi started really taking off, was in student housing, because they live and breathe by that internet connection. They have to take their tests, and that's how they watch everything. They watch it on their phone. Right. My kids had TVs in their bedroom growing up in high school, and they never watched them. They were constantly on their phone. But from a maintenance and a property standpoint, when you turn that unit by being able to control, so it's an advantage for the resident, but it's also an advantage for the maintenance staff and the property staff, because now they can lower that or raise that temperature, turn on the AC, turn on the heat, lower it when somebody moves out. So you can just do that remotely. The whole lock thing, you don't need physical keys anymore.
Right.
So you're saving money, you're saving time, you're saving resources. So there's an advantage of the resident experience, but there's also an advantage for the property itself. So you want to kind of weigh those options. Maybe you don't think that the resident would necessarily benefit from it, but the property could. Right. So when you're adding and thinking about these amenities, you want to kind of look at both sides. But then in addition to that, you can do video surveillance. You can put up cameras and things. And, affordable housing, we're seeing that, especially very prevalent, putting in security systems and things like that. Water and leak detection. So you can add those devices as well. Running toilets, busted pipe, especially in the north where it gets cold. Those types of services you can easily add once you have that managed Wi-Fi. And then there's just all the things that haven't been invented yet, right? That are going to be coming that we just don't know. But as technology advances, typically costs come down. The cost of bandwidth should go down over time, and how much bandwidth you can purchase and get usually increases, just like technology and hardware. A flat screen TV today you can buy for $300, and 7 years ago it was $3,000. Right. So, but the one thing that we do, Sam, is we make sure that we stay up on technology. We're always in the lab. We're testing the latest and greatest technology. We are an elite Ruckus partner. Ruckus is in the managed Wi-Fi space, and the hardware space is the best of the best when it comes to hardware for access points and switches. So we only use the best, because by doing that up front and by being extremely proactive on the front end, that reduces your trouble call and your service call. So here's a statistic. On average, less than 0.5% of our customers submit a trouble call or a service ticket on an annual basis. So less than 0.5%. And the industry average is 8%. And that's a testament to we're able to achieve those statistics because we do it right up front. We answer the phone. Our customer care answers the phone in 15 seconds. You're going to get a live technician when you call in if you do have a problem. And our average speed to resolve a trouble ticket is 8 minutes.
That's amazing. Tell me about this. You mentioned the word fiber. Is this available in areas where fiber hasn't yet made it? I mean, I know right now I'm in my own neighborhood and they're finally running fiber here, and it's like, oh, that's cool. So is that is that a prerequisite for you guys? Like there has to be fiber in the area?
Yeah, I mean, you want to. I mean, we can look at other options, and you can feed a property with coax. That doesn't mean that it can't be done, right. And you can achieve some pretty great speeds over coax. So we never want to just say absolutely no, and we walk away from that opportunity. Right. But there are certainly with the $65 billion that the federal government is doling out, and ISPs and cable companies deploying fiber, and there's a lot of resources out there. Yeah, there's going to be pockets of real, urban areas where it's going to take a while to catch up, but we were a nationwide company. We service properties all over the country, and we have yet to be able to find an area where, we just have to say, no, sorry, there's just no fiber available. Right. Most of the developments are in, that we're seeing especially are in areas that are serviced. And there's a lot of fiber providers out there.
Right. When does it make sense? I know you said Class A to Class C, like you can put it in any of it. But let's say we bought a property and, we've owned it for maybe a year or two. You've got people in the, you've got to go back to the 100 units. 80 of those have their own internet connection. Right. Everybody's got their own contracts that started at different times. How do you navigate that in the middle of an ownership, period? Like, what do you guys say? Do you just go to all the residents and say, hey guys, by the way, we're bringing in a managed Wi-Fi, cancel your contracts? I mean, how does that process, that sounds like it could be a cumbersome integration. I'm sure you've got a solution to that.
Yeah, and it's really not as complicated as you would like to think. But yes, we work through all of those logistics with the owner to make sure that we roll it out seamlessly to the resident. The key there is communication to the resident. And there really are no contracts anymore. If a person goes out and they get their own internet service with the local cable company or the phone provider, none of them really have contracts anymore. It's all pretty much month to month. So you don't have to worry about that. You can cancel your internet, pretty much at any time. Now, your mobile bill, like your mobile phone, typically you have a contract there, but that's usually you're just trying to pay off the phone too. But with the internet, you don't really have to worry about that. It's kind of a lease up, and you're going to kind of ramp those people up. And we can certainly work with owners in some sort of ramp to kind of ease those residents in, especially if, you're talking literally, like you said, 80 out of 100 units, probably 80 of those residents are going to have internet. Because when you think about it, That's the first thing when you move into an apartment or a home. What do you have to do? I got to call the cable company. I got to get my internet set up. Even before you get there, you want it like on,
right,
and working. So, it's just a matter of kind of working through those logistics. We handhold the owner, make sure there's no trip ups. Another key is to plan well in advance. So if you do have a contract, like you're the owner and maybe you have a bulk agreement with the local cable company or the local phone provider, maybe you have bulk TV or something like that. You want to be well in advance of all of that. Right. If you're building a property, you want to be at least 12 to 18 months out before your first certificate of occupancy. So just planning. And by planning ahead, you really minimize and reduce and kind of eliminate all of those potholes that you might run into.
And I would imagine that as soon as we get a property under contract, correct me if I'm wrong, but that would be when we'd also want to be reaching out to you and saying, hey, we're under contract. Yeah. This is something we'd like to implement. Is this even possible? What's it look like? And you guys can probably help guide the process from there.
Yep. That's exactly it.
Awesome.
Yeah. And really, like hold periods don't really affect it either. A lot of people hold a property for 5 years. We've seen owners where they do that and they want to use this as a way to increase the value of the property. So when they do go to sell it, they can certainly increase the value. So
right. Yeah. I mean, just simple back of the napkin math. I think we were looking at there, you said, basically $1,000 a unit. And if we had 100 units, that's $100,000. And if you're charging $25, we pay you $25 a month. That's $2,500 a month. We're charging $5,000. That's a spread of $2,500 a month. That's $30,000 a year. So you're getting a 30% annualized return. That smells very good on a 6 or 7 cap deal. So that's there
you go.
That's a win-win, man. Todd, thank you for coming on today. I certainly appreciate it. If our listeners want to get in touch with you, learn more about you, what is the best way to do that?
So I'm very active on LinkedIn, so you can look me up there. My email address is todd.thorpe@dojonetworks.com or cell phone 608-669-6514.
Todd, thank you so much. Certainly appreciate it. Have a great rest of your day.
You too, Sam. Thanks.